Hi folks, hope you're well. So, I spoke recently about the fact that I think what God's going to do is he's going to take his presence away from the church. And that will actually get people to turn back to God. Nah, it won't though. The thing of it is it won't. That's one option. It could get people to turn back to God, but it won't. Most people in church, yeah. God's presence could leave the church and they wouldn't even notice. They wouldn't. The truth of the matter is that church is very, very much, as I said, it's like a worldly, spiritual community centre. That's what it is. It's like a slightly spiritual community centre. It's an amalgamation of the community centres and churches just come together. And that's pretty much what church is now. Yeah, this safe space stuff, it all comes from the hippies. It all comes from all of that crap. It comes from before the hippies, but because obviously the hippies were created by a society fed up to the back teeth of war, fed up to the back teeth of violence and hate. And so it went completely the opposite. And so in church, yeah. The church at one time was very, very much talking about sin and repentance and accountability and reverence and all that stuff. And of course that coincided with that ended at the time of the 60s and 70s when the youth left the church. But of course, I went to a church recently, a little church meeting in the centre of the High Street in Aint, Scotland. The church there, it's a big church. I say a little church meeting because the congregation is small. But that congregation is around about 70 years old. As in the average age of the people in that church. That church will not survive. It no longer has a Sunday morning meeting, and I can imagine why. I don't think they get the amount of people, and the reason is the youth have gone. In other churches, well, the Community Church of God, they have people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. But again, I think the most population they've got in their church is probably again around about late 60s, early 70s. And they've got a spitter and a spattering of people in their 30s, 40s, 50s. With a church, should be about the same. That's generally speaking the way a church is that they have a majority of people over the age of 50. And so therefore for every church, they're in danger. And every church is designed to keep those older people in church. That's why they do church the way they do it. That's why they do the songs they do. That's why they do the ministry the way they do. That's why they do everything the way they do. Because they're not building for the future. Well, for example, I was considering earlier that, yes, I've said that the church is not very good. And I've been thinking that for years. And even when I was living in Kent, in Chatham in Kent, we had the King's Church who were doing the Helping Hands, the thing for the homeless. And the Helping Hands building was the size of the Community Church of God in Elgin, Scotland. Actually, I think it's probably bigger. It had showers in there. It had a pool table. It had a table tennis table. It had a place for people to sit down and eat because they provided food, hot, drinks, tea and coffee, that sort of stuff. Cold drinks in the summer. They provided clothes for people, who were homeless. They provided blankets and they provided all that stuff. They provided Christian counselling. They provided all that stuff in there. So therefore, if I thought that church wasn't doing as good as it could be, even though they were doing all of that, and you had the other church in Chatham High Street that was meeting every Wednesday, doing tea and coffee and worship every single blinking Wednesday. And it was a worship band turning up every single Wednesday. That when I then look at the Community Church of God that do their tea and coffee, the question came to me earlier, are they doing as well as they can be? Well, the answer therefore has to be no, because it's like all things. If you're doing what you were doing 3 years ago, and you're doing things pretty much exactly as you were doing things 3 years ago, you're only doing as well as you were 3 years ago. You should be further along now, shouldn't you? 3 years. Yeah? Should be. Yeah. No. The reality is, yes. So when I look at the Community Church of God, and like years ago, as I say, when that lady outside, when the church was ending, that woman was saying, "Oh, everything is amazing in this church," I knew she was deluded. I knew that what she was saying was absolute rubbish. I knew that because I'd seen churches that were doing far better than that church, and they weren't amazing. And the Community Church of God, it's what it is. That's the reality. It's what it is. But in any way, shape, or form, is it good enough? No. Are they doing enough? No. They're doing enough based upon the people in that church that can be bothered to do anything. Yeah. But again, that's down to teaching. That's down to the people that are teaching, which is the pastor teacher, helping the younger people in that church to know that they need to step it up. That if we're still doing what we were doing 3 years ago and we haven't really moved forward, then it needs to be stepped up, doesn't it really? We need to do better. I'm not sure if that conversation would ever happen. In that church or any church, really. Yeah. Put it this way, I don't think the Community Church of God would have the capability of opening their church every Wednesday. They're not really in the high street either, so that'd be difficult. The one in the centre of the high street, they could do it. Yeah, a church could organise that they go in there every Wednesday lunchtime and they have worship, and it's available for everyone, tea and coffee and worship every Wednesday without fail any time of the year. They could do that and it would be beautiful. It wouldn't matter whether the worship was fantastic. Just the offering would just be beautiful. Be people coming together from all different churches to worship the one God. That'd be beautiful. The question should be, why aren't they doing it already? Well, because for most people, when they say they've given their life to God, they have not. They have no concept of what that really means. They go to church. That's what they do. So as I say, if God took his presence away, yeah, it wouldn't be much noticed, would it, really? Not for most people. There's Molly Collie. Oh, Molly Collie. She was definitely a daddy's girl. Yeah. Hopefully she's got a good human now that's looking after her. Yeah. So, yeah. we are where we are, basically, and with regards to all these things. Put it this way, faith is not believing in God. Faith is about believing in God when everything is telling you you shouldn't. And so therefore I'll ask the question, is your church preparing you for a situation where you're going to have faith in God in a reality that's screaming out that you are absolutely and totally bloody insane to have faith in God in this thing? Are you being prepared in your church for that? To have faith in those sort of circumstances. If not, then your church is, yeah. You need to go and find yourself another church. Or more to the point, start one. Yeah. Start a new church. You can't do worse. But you can't really, because you look at those cults that happen. Yeah, you had that cult in America where the FBI went in and killed most of the people. I don't think most churches teach people better than what they taught in that cult. I don't think the standard of teaching is much better. No, you don't have people arming themselves, but then again, this is the UK that I'm living in. It's not America. So what's happening in areas of America, I don't know. Maybe there have been people in churches arming themselves. In the UK, no. But do we get a better level of teaching? No. Do we get more truth? No. We get perversions of truth the same as what they had. Yeah, Waco and all those areas. Yeah, there's been lots of those sort of places. Now they're just called church. So, yeah. Start a new one. You can't do worse. I think that probably is true. If you're focusing on God, you'll do better. Take care. Bye-bye.